What's up, y'all?
What's up,
Every
everybody?
marriage has its ups and downs. So on today, we're gonna be talking to y'all about our biggest mistakes that we had within our marriage.
And we know that everybody have issues and drama that they go through, but we have some things that we've been through that we can share with y'all on today.
So with that being said, I'm Nikki,
And I'm George
and this is the G
G
Way
Way.
Podcast. Let's get into it. This is episode 6, y'all. We
Mm-hmm.
on episode 6, and episode 6 is our biggest mistakes that we made within our marriage and
Mm-hmm.
what we learned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into that. So we're gonna talk about that, and I'm gonna start it off by saying when I say we came up, our biggest mistake was
Disrespect or not
not
respecting one
respecting
another.
one another.
Right.
That was a big mistake
Right.
that we learned in our marriage.
Right.
And why we said that,
Mm-hmm.
because when respect plays a big part in marriage.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna start that off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm gonna say it. I was one of those wives that I didn't want to listen. So it was kind of respect and listening. So
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, if he would tell me something, I would just be like, I want to do it my way. I don't want to hear him. I don't want to listen to him. I think his way is not good enough. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just do it my way.
Mm-hmm.
As me being the woman, I thought that, everything that I did, I could just say, babe, let's go and do it this way. So my example on that is we had a incident,
A flood
probably
out here.
a flood, like before, like what year was that? Like
Uh
about 2014
yeah.
or whatever. We were probably married about 3 or 4 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we were driving on the highway, and then it was starting to rain bad, and it started to flood.
Right.
And so we were in his car, which was a Cadillac, his dream car. He had just paid
Yeah.
it off,
Right.
and he was just like, okay, just get off the freeway, and then we're gonna go ahead and go another way. And because I was driving, so he was telling me what to do. So me being hard headed, I was thinking I was doing the right thing. So we were on the underpath on the freeway, and it had like water, like it was flooded.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, it can't be that deep, because
Yeah.
it's like it looked
It
like it's
didn't
not.
it didn't look
So
deep.
he was telling me like, hey babe, just don't go through there. Just turn
Yeah.
around and go back the another way. So me being hard headed and being disrespectful towards his decisions, what I do, I drive my little old butt into that, and it came to be that it was deep water, right? So the water started pulling the car, and we started going upwards, right, into the water.
Mm-hmm.
And
Floating.
so we had the kids with us and everything. So I started panicking, and he clicked in his mind, instead of him getting mad right then and there, he
Mm-hmm.
got us out the car, got us to safety. And
Mm-hmm.
because the car was like going down like into the water, so it was deep. So he rescued us out of that. So in the midst of it, I was crying and all hysterical, and he could have been like blah, 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 but he didn't. He was calm with that, and he just said, hey, it's gonna be all right. But I know when he seen that car down in that
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
he
I was
probably wanted
mad.
to get crazy.
I was
So
mad.
I'm telling y'all this story is because when I did that, they made a financial burden within our marriage, because that was the only car that we had at that time, because my
Mm-hmm.
car was kind of broken down. It was in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the only drivable car that we had to get him to work. And at that time, I wasn't working because I was a stay at home mom.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his only means of transportation to get to and from work. And by me flooding it,
Mm-hmm.
that caused us to put a burden, me to, cause a burden until our marriage, because he could get back and forth to work, and he was being late. And you know how jobs are, when you be late, they be like, hey, look, you can't be late no more.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up being terminated, right?
Right. Right.
And it causes us to go into financial hardship. And I feel like that was the biggest mistake on me, because if I hadn't done that, then we wouldn't have to worry about, all of the pitfalls that came
Mm-hmm.
within us having to go through that. Because
Right.
if I had just been that wife to say, you're right, babe, I'm not going to do that. That was like a year. It took us about 2 years to get out of that,
Mm-hmm.
because, he was on unemployment. Then he had to find another job. We had to find another car. And
Mm-hmm.
mind you, that car was paid off. So we didn't
Right.
even have car notes, a
Right.
car note on that car. So he had just paid it off. Just paid it. It wasn't even probably
Mm-hmm.
about a week or so. So
Yes.
that was my biggest mistake within my marriage that I did, that made him have to start over. Us had to lose, because we lost a lot. He lost shoes.
Mhm.
because he had to go to the pawn shop and pawn all his shoes because we was
Mhm.
having financial hardship. We lost TVs. We had to do
Mhm.
what we had to do, and I felt really bad about that because I'm like, if I had to just listen to that one thing that he
Mhm.
was telling me to do, then we wouldn't be in this situation. So that kind of beat me up after the while because I'm like, I did this to us. Like I
Mhm.
caused this. So
Mhm.
that was one of the biggest mistakes on my end.
Right. And one of the biggest mistakes I made with no respect in our marriage was I called myself being sneaky,
Mhm.
and that sneakiness led me to doing things that wasn't right. And I used to do like texting and all that type of stuff like that. And I used to think that I wasn't gonna get caught up with none of that stuff. I used to think that wasn't nothing wrong about none of that type of stuff. But when my wife found out about like the things that I did, it really hurt her.
Yeah.
So that was something that I had to learn from. And I do know that there was a no on my end. Um that caused us back then in our marriage to have like
Trust
trust
issues.
issues. I had to learn how to gain my trust back. We had arguments. She didn't want to believe if I was
Yeah.
doing something, going somewhere. So it was a whole lot of things that I had to earn back by just one of those mistakes that I
Yeah.
made. So I would say that, you know, respect is big to us, but my biggest mistake was doing sending bad texts and texts to different people and girls and all that type of stuff early in our marriage, and I have learned for that. So yeah, that was my biggest mistake. I
Yeah, because
apologize
that
still to
caused
this day.
bitterness towards him.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to leave that man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just like, because I didn't get married to play games with him. Like,
Yeah.
this is not what I wanted to do. This is not how I imagined us to be.
Right.
So I spoke about that before. I think it was probably the second episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, you see how he really don't like to talk about it because it makes him understand how we
How
go back
she how
to
she
how
feel
I
about that.
felt,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
where we were at that point. And I'm thankful that we're able to talk about it without even, you know,
Happen to
having to
yeah.
be upset. Because when we did used to talk about it, I used to get really upset and be like, hey, this is why you made me like this,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't trust you. I hated that. And I
Right.
did, because I used to be the type to say, not just saying my marriage was perfect, but I just was in my head like, my man wouldn't do no things like that.
Yeah.
Like, he ain't gonna do that. And when he did that, I had to slap myself in the face like, hey, what makes
Mm-hmm.
you think that can happen to you?
Right.
So when it happened to me, it kind of made me really bad. It made me feel real bad because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to be thinking it can't happen to me. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that he was able to, we were able to catch it before he even got to another, like, physicalness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he had to understand that,
Right.
right?
Right.
So we
Correct.
got through that, and I'm glad we did.
Mm-hmm.
So what we learned is that marriages isn't always perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to admit when you're wrong, and then you grow together, right?
And yeah, and the scripture that reminds us of that is Ecclesiastes 4:12. It says, "A cord of three strands is not quickly broken without the third strand, which is Christ." We
Right?
wouldn't have made it through without it.
Without it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had jotted down some things that, if you're doing these things within your marriage, these are big mistakes. If you're not putting God first in your marriage,
Mm-hmm.
that's the first mistake, because we had to learn, we needed to go back after we had all this stuff going on
Mm-hmm.
and put God back first in our marriage, and that's the foundation part of it, right?
Yes.
Can't go back.
Okay.
The second one.
Okay. And poor communication, which basically is talking at each other instead of with each other. And that's like talking and yelling and fussing with each
Yeah.
other, going back and forth about things. That really doesn't help cure your situation.
Yeah, over talking each
Over
other. Like when
talking,
y'all trying to have a discussion, somebody, that's with the respect.
yeah,
Like, hey, allow your husband or your wife to have their moment to speak,
yeah,
and then you speak, and then that's how you can communicate.
that's right.
Because if y'all both yelling, ain't nobody
Ain't nobody, you
communicating at
can't.
that point.
Somebody
Everybody
want to
just
be
all
heard.
over the place, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if y'all doing that, fix that.
Yeah.
And then another one, letting their pride or your ego in the way of the forgiveness part. So I
Mhm.
know with him,
Mm.
I used to be waiting on him to say, "Babe, I'm sorry. Like,
Mhm.
I apologize." And
Mhm.
I'd be like, "Okay, I'm gonna forgive you,"
Right.
but he wouldn't do that, and so I was just like, "Okay, so, you know, when he going when," and then that would cause another issue because I would be like, "Okay,
Mhm.
you didn't apologize, so how am I going to be able to forgive you for something that you want me to forgive you for
Right.
when you didn't come in here and admit or take your wrong fault and apologize for it, right?"
Mhm. I
So
think she used to want me to cry my heart out,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
she wanted to
Mhm.
feel it, feel
I wanted to feel it, especially
my
like after that
sincereness.
situation happened with the texting and all that when he lost the trust, and it just made me feel all upset.
Mhm.
I needed him to be showing me like, hey, like on
Yeah.
my mom, I bend the knees,
Yeah,
baby.
she
Like,
wanted some
I'm
of that.
sorry.
And when I just say I'm
I'm
sorry, she
sorry.
don't feel it.
And I know as me being that, like I said, I had said I forgave him, but I did not forget it. And so
Mhm.
it kept coming in my mind on and off, like, hey,
Mhm.
is he doing this? And like I'm gonna make him suffer like a
Mhm.
little bit in my mind. Like, so if he do something, he gonna have to beg, and he gonna. But I have to say, hey, you can't do that. If you forgive him, then
Mhm.
you have to not treat him like that, because all you're doing is making your marriage suffer. Because if you want it to work, you got to be able to work it out with this man,
That's
right?
right. Mhm.
And then babe, the next that one.
Okay. Mishandling money or ignoring financial unity.
Yeah,
That's
you
another.
can speak on that
Yeah.
for us.
I ain't gonna say who good with money and all that because that's
Y'all
too
kind of
much.
figure that out.
But I would say learning how to work together with money is a good thing because you always gotta deal with money. She might want something, and you might, the man might want to get something, and children need something, so bills need to be paid. So it's a lot of importance of managing money. So I work with her with sharing money, and we learn how to make it work, take care of the payments and all that type of stuff.
And we
So
came a
we
long
we
way.
just learned how to
And
work
that's
together
another
on that.
thing that we can bring back to respect.
Mm-hmm.
I was very disrespectful when it came to handling the money side,
Mm-hmm. Especially when back
because
then when it was Christmas
yeah, when
times
it was
back then.
holidays, I
Mm-hmm.
think I
Christmas,
talked about this
holidays,
before in a podcast.
Halloween.
I didn't care
Right.
what was needed to be, because I was just like, hey, I need this, I
Mm-hmm.
want this. And he was just like, hey, and this was the time when he was the only one working, and I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
spend that money up and not acting right.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, y'all. When it came to paying them bills,
Yeah.
so he was trying to understand, like, hey, I'm giving you the money,
Mm-hmm.
and you not being respectful to me, a hard working man, and you
Mm-hmm.
taking his money and you BSing with it,
Right.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, mishandling money. If you doing that, men or women, and ignoring y'all finances, because that's a big thing.
Right.
Finances is another part of marriage. If you're
It's
not having
real
that
big.
financial right, and that's gonna cause a big problem within that
Mm-hmm.
marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then allowing outside voices, which is what could be friends, family, social media, to influence your decisions when it comes to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that we do say, we can speak to our friends, and we know who we can speak to, we can go to kind of get some help towards our marriage. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the friend that you shouldn't talk to and the
Right.
friend that you can talk to,
Yeah.
or the whoever it may be, your person that you can go to and get strong, godly information from, right?
Right.
Because you don't want to get some of that worldly stuff, because some of that worldly stuff is really crazy. You want to go to a person that, if you say your marriage is founded on God, you need to go to somebody that you know marriage founded on God. Not nobody that did look like they got it going on, or you really,
Mm-hmm.
go to that, because
Yeah.
that's gonna be the right source for you, and they gonna give you the right way from it when it comes to looking at it from the God perspective,
I agree.
right?
I agree with that.
So that's what we got for that. And then we have some tips for y'all. So let's go to that. The tips. If you're listening and you're in a similar place, here are a few tips that we came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Start praying together on a daily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, throughout the day we pray with each other. Like if
Right.
we on break, or if I'm at work or he at work, we'll say a quick prayer here and there, especially at night when we have our time alone. We'll pray about all the things that we want going forward, and all the things that we looking forward to, just throughout the
Mm-hmm.
whole day. Start doing that. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
right?
Right. The prayer
It,
changes
prayer
things,
changes. God
makes
gonna
it
show
better.
up, right?
Right.
Then
Be quick to forgive and humble enough to admit when you have made a mistake. Be
Yes.
quick to forgive. That's something that's real big. You know,
Right.
you can't always say that, you know, I'm not gonna forgive.
Yeah.
You know, you don't always forget, but you can learn how to forgive.
Forgive.
That's how you I feel like let go of things. So yeah, learn how to forgive.
Yeah, that's how you can move forward as well
Mm-hmm.
within your marriage. Because if you keep on harping over something that the person apologized for, and you keep bringing it up every argument, where's the growing part of it? Because
Right.
now you keep bringing it back up like a, oh, what we
Mm-hmm.
like a wound, like you
Yeah,
keep
like
uncovering
you
the
keep
pill.
peeling
It's
the
trying to
wound
heal, but
back.
you keep peeling it
Yeah,
back,
it's not
and
gonna
you
heal
keep
right.
talking about it. So how are we
Mm-hmm.
supposed to move forward? So
Yeah.
that's why we say, if you say you're gonna forgive that person,
Forgive.
forgive them,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then don't let outside voices ruin your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Right.
careful with that,
Mm-hmm.
because people that ain't happily married, who ain't doing a marriage right, or
Mm-hmm.
if they not even in a marriage, whatever the case may be, they can ruin your marriage by you listening to them and allowing
Mm-hmm.
them to tell you, hey, you should be doing this. Especially when it comes to the men, right? Some of the
Yeah.
men want to tell George like, hey, you want to just be with your wife. You don't want to be trying to see
Right.
if you still
Mm-hmm.
little crazy stuff like that. Like,
Check to see what I'm gonna say or things
and if
like
you
that.
got
See
those
how I'm
type
gonna
of people
react.
around you, you don't need them around
Mm-hmm.
you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, remember mistakes don't mean the marriage is over. They can actually be the start of a breakthrough if you let God inside.
Yes.
So yeah,
So,
remember that.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So now we at the part where we gonna let George do his valuable men
My
segment, right?
valuable notes from
So
me.
let's
Yeah.
give it up for George.
All right, guys.
Let's go,
It's
George.
funny. It's funny we spoke on that because one of my valuable notes have something that we spoke
Let's
on
go.
today,
All
and
right.
my notes are basically just for me. I don't even know what we want to always speak about, but I just come up with my own notes that have helped me throughout the my our marriage, and
Yes.
I just feel like it can help others. So this one is first. If you struggle with forgiving your spouse about something that is difficult to forgive about, y'all can always pray together and seek ways to get help and learn how to to work with forgiveness or learn how to have forgiveness, right?
Yeah.
The next one is communicate about y'all's financial plans and ways of budgeting together so that you know y'all can learn how to work together with money. We spoke on that also.
Okay.
The last one is don't keep putting things that bother you on the back burner. Find time to bring it up and talk about this stuff together.
Okay.
Be
Yeah.
like, yeah, I talk to you about this later and it's bothering them. And then when later comes up, somebody's sleepy, somebody got to do something, you know, they don't feel like talking about it no more. So sometimes you never really get to it. And if we call that sweeping it under the rug,
Yeah.
because this is things that y'all deal with. These are things that hinder y'all's marriage and y'all's growth. So we don't agree with putting stuff in the back. If she has a problem, she gonna bring it up. I advise y'all if y'all have a problem, you know, bring it up. Y'all find some time to where y'all can finish what y'all got to do throughout the day, sit down and talk about it and fix it because that's the only way to get through it. If y'all have any types of struggle with forgiving about anything, let's say a hurtful situation
Because the
because
reason why, I'm sorry,
uh-huh.
the reason why I wanted to get into that with you is because
Mm-hmm.
men's have a hard time
Mm-hmm.
with certain things versus women.
Right.
Sometimes men, they can forgive, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
forgive how we do.
Mm-hmm.
We be in our feelings, but
Yeah.
you know, because men don't really show their feelings
Mm-hmm.
when it. So if I would say if they're hurt or if they hurt someone,
Mm-hmm.
then they have to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I want you to elaborate
Yeah.
so they can understand as far as when it comes
Yeah.
to the men part of what
So on the
going on.
man side, like she said, we not gonna show our vulnerable side first or later or last because that's not what we want a female to see of us.
Yeah.
We feel like we don't want a female to see us hurt because then she gonna think she got a weak man.
Right.
That's what most guys
That's
is gonna think. So how can I look weak to a woman that expect me to be strong? So I feel like you just be honest. You could be like, I'm hurting about this. You don't gotta say I want to cry about this. You don't say I don't know how to talk about this. You just say I'm struggling with this, and I this is on my mind. This bothering me, and we talk about it. Because if I'm holding on to something and she apologized, then I'm not being forgiven. If
Yeah.
she has apologized to me, I have to say, okay, how do I feel about that after you apologize? Do I accept it or do I not accept it? That's either or.
Mhm.
So learning how to forgive. If you need help, then you can always, like you said, talk to somebody spiritual about that.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is not always easy because I don't know how everyone feel about things. But I know for myself, if you explain or you tell me what happened or why, and
Yeah.
you apologize, then I have to at least find some type of reasoning.
You have to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because every day is a different day.
Yeah.
So don't bring in yesterday into today. That's what we
Yeah.
be saying.
Right.
Like if we talked about this yesterday and we
Mm-hmm.
got through it, we moved past it, we forgave one another. So the next day, which is would be that today,
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't be talking about that. You
Right.
know, we should
Exactly.
be moving on to the next, and we're gonna be living our life and,
Right.
and allowing God to continue to bless us and grow us and do all the things that's necessary. So that goes into I've had to do, we always put a scripture with our podcast topic.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't choose one, I had to get two. So the first one is Ephesians 4, 2 and 3. Be completely humble and
Mm-hmm.
gentle, be patient, bear with one another in love. And then another one is my favorite, Proverbs 24 and 16. Through the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again.
Mm-hmm.
Great for encouraging, after mistakes. So you can make a mistake and fall
Mm-hmm.
seven
Seven
times, but then
times.
get back up
Got to get back up
and,
seven
and get
times.
back in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
those are the things that I would say, y'all,
Right.
marriage is gonna be work
Mm-hmm.
and
But I
you're gonna
want to
make
add to that.
mistakes.
I want to add to that. You fall down 7 times. Don't try to keep falling down more, right?
Yeah,
Because we know if you keep making the same mistake, eventually you doing it deliberately.
yeah,
So you have to stop making that mistake.
right.
You make a mistake 7 times, you got to learn some type of lesson. So I
It
want to
got to be
say
a
that
lesson
it
because
has to be a
now,
lesson in
because we
everything.
say a mistake is
Mm-hmm.
like 2 or 3. Now, if
Right.
you over 3, then it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a repetitive
Mm-hmm.
situation. It's no
Mm-hmm.
longer a mistake.
Right.
So you can't keep saying, "Hey, I made a
Mm-hmm.
mistake," because now you know what you're doing. Like when we tell our, it's the same way with marriage. When we tell your children, "Hey, you know that after you tell them something 2 or 3 times, you
Mm-hmm.
be ready to be like, you finna get a whooping right now."
Right.
So
For
it's the
sure.
same with marriage. If you beat and had that mistake happen within your marriage 2 to 3 times, you finna get a whooping.
Yeah.
Not physically whooping, but
Yeah.
we about to have to something about to have to
Yeah.
happen here. We about to have to go to counseling, or we about to have to put a plan together to get something going because something is not working at this point. Like something is causing us to keep hitting this bump in the road, right?
Yes.
So, you know, if you're struggling right now, this hold on. Know this. We've been there. And if God can bring us through it, he can do the same for you. So
Right.
that's something that I wrote down what I feel like. If we can get through it, because we have been through a whole lot, we can't sit here with this 30 minutes of this podcast and give y'all everything. But
Mm-hmm.
we're eventually going to have a book made or something later on where we can kind of let
Right.
y'all know the ins and out of,
Mm-hmm.
of George and Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through some things. We haven't been through things that like crazy, crazy, but we've been through some things to get us to where we are, right?
That's right.
And so
And
this is your
so,
part. Oh,
yeah,
you got
so
something else?
no, I'm saying that.
Go ahead.
So if you know anyone that has dealt with situations like this, y'all be sure to share this with someone that may
Yeah.
have had an issue, may have struggles with stuff like this.
Mhm.
Even you, if you know this beneficial to you, still share it with a friend of yours, a loved one,
Yeah.
coworker, because these are everyday things that we deal with,
Yeah.
especially if you're in a relationship. So
Yeah.
I just tell y'all to like, subscribe, and share this information with others that you know because it's
Yeah.
very
And
beneficial.
hey, we're gonna make mistakes, but don't keep making the mistakes. You want to learn from them as well,
Right.
right? So you already know we're not gonna do question. It's
It's
only
only one
one
way,
way,
and
and that's
that's
the
the
G
G
way.
way.
Thank y'all. Peace
Thank
out,
y'all.
people. We love y'all.
Deuce.